In this edition of Southern Newsweek, bigger cruise ships are destined to dock at Port Chalmers as Port Otago works through a consent process. Medical students are about to be let loose on a new training facility, and a ship docks in the harbour for a short visit before heading to Antarctica, where it'll investigate illegal activity. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. Port Otago is moving ahead with plans to berth bigger cruise ships. The port has achieved consent for their next generation dredging program and is now seeking consents for sediment disposal. But not everyone is convinced that the port's plans are in the best interests of the environment.
The sound of progress at Port Otago. I'm Roselle LeBone. The international cruise liner, the Mazdam, is berthed at Port Chalmers today. The 200-metre long ship will take thousands of passengers onto international waters. The Mazdam's arrival signals new beginnings at Port Otago as it prepares to welcome some of the world's biggest ships at its harbour.
So this year we've got 87 cruise ships calling, which is up from about 70 last year. So it's quite a big cruise ship season year. And cruise ships themselves are generally getting bigger, and so they're carrying more passengers.
The port will receive a visit from the 348-metre Ovation of the Seas in December. The Next Generation project will see the shipping channel deepened from 13 to 14 metres at low tide. Friends of the Otago Harbour's Richard Reeves predicted widespread death for marine life before consents were obtained for the Next Generation plan, and said the changes would create an underwater Pompeii. Local iwi also expressed concerns about the environmental impact of sediment entering the harbour, loss of access to the coastal marine area, and earthworks. Plunkett is not convinced the NIWA modelling for the disposal site could be wrong.
And so you need to find a site that environmentally can sustain the volume that material you're dumping, but also that the material you're dumping is sort of compatible with the current environment.
He says at this point the dredging and disposal is not having any environmental impact.
At the end we'll have a deeper channel, and we'll place the material we take from the dredging and place it out to sea in an environment in a location that can sustain that dredge disposal.
Hearings for the consent were in early November, and Port Otago is awaiting the decision of the commissioners. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
The Nevis Bluff on State Highway 6 between Cromwell and Queenstown is looking rock solid following the biannual inspection that found no major threats or dangers of falling rocks or debris. The routine inspection has just begun ahead of schedule following the monthly checks done throughout the year.
This aerial view of the Nevis Bluff shows just how big the bluff actually is, one of the reasons why its maintenance is done on a regular basis.
This is Mina. I'm so in Queenstown, and right behind me here, as you can see, the Nevis Bluff Cliff, where it's receiving its biannual inspection.
It's a $100,000 job, but it has to be done. 10-minute traffic delays on State Highway 6 meant that this helicopter was able to lift this half-ton air compressor up to the top of the Nevis Bluff to do its job.
It's easier to have the air compressor sitting at the top when they're and pumping the air downhill.
Nothing serious was found during the recent helicopter inspection.
Yeah, we picked some stuff up the previous month that while the guys were here, we got them to go and deal to it, which they've done, and yeah, just had a look with one of the abseilers and just gave a bit of a rundown of what he's done this week. So yeah, there's a couple of things to just keep an eye on as we so they're fairly minor things. This time round, yeah, there's nothing significant that we've noticed here.
The rock face is 400 to 500 meters long, 160 meters high, and is geologically complex. There's no simple fix, so continuous monitoring and managing is likely to continue into the foreseeable future. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Medical students in Invercargill will get the next best training to practising operations and exams on a person. A new purpose-built education facility is opening at Southland Hospital, and educators say it's amongst the best training young health professionals can get.
Operations, resuscitations, births all need to be performed by people with a good idea of what they're doing. and now medical, nursing and allied health students in Invercargill can practice all of these in an environment that mimics real-life situations. Hi, I'm Ruby Spink at Southland Hospital's new education facility. Paul Winder says this is an amazing tool to develop the next generation of healthcare professionals.
This facility will approach education at so many different angles that we can really minimise risk and improve the quality of what we deliver.
The building was the former nurse's home, but was completely stripped back to the bare bones of the building. The inside has been completely rebuilt and is now home to lecture theatres, mock consultation rooms, operating theatres, labs and hospital wards. The mannequins work as substitute patients and can be controlled by educators in a separate room to create a wide range of medical scenarios.
The audio-visual stuff is just so much better than what we've had before. The spaces look more professional. The flow is much better between the spaces, and on the simulation side of things, it's already really noticeable that the participants are much more immersed and engaged in what we're doing because we've sort of removed all the distractions that wouldn't normally be there in clinical practice.
He says this education facility is up there with the best in the country.
From having looked around quite a few centres in New Zealand and having those places willingly show me around and share their ideas and photos and plans even, that we're really on par with anything around New Zealand.
And the learning's not all about caring for the patients. Southern District Health Board Commissioner Kathy Grant says the strong pool of dedicated teachers and educators across all disciplines will cater to interprofessional skills as well. I'm Ruby Spink for the South Today.
It's taken 20 workers more than 24 hours to lay 800 tonnes of concrete for the D1NZ racetrack. But it's not just a matter of laying the concrete and forgetting about it.
It's still drying, but this is the on-ramp to the 360-metre figure-8 course that drivers will be racing down at 110 k's per hour. It's a first of its kind purpose-built track that had no blueprints to follow during construction, but the contractors took it in their stride to create the high-speed circuit.
Put down about 1,500 sheets of plywood over the grass, then plastic over that, and then boxed up, and then poured concrete in using a pump, so no trucks on the turf.
M3 worked closely with Allied on the concrete design and came up with a 50 MPa concrete with fibres, so there's no steel in it, and that makes it easy to install and remove.
Just get a couple of 12-tonne diggers in and just pick it up piece by piece and take it out, truck it out, yep.
By its nature, concrete expands and contracts, so the concrete experts are on hand all week and for the whole of the event to keep an eye on it.
It's a bit of a living being, especially when you've got that much traffic on it going sideways. You know, they'll be nurturing it all the way through, and they'll be filling any cracks and making sure that the track stays in pristine condition for the drivers, because it's all about them as well. You know, they've got to have a great time. When they have a good time, they bring the show.
And that show promises to be high energy and full of action, both on and off the track. Simonsen says the stadium is well suited to the style and speed of drifting.
We know that the layout works. There's sort of a figure 8 that the drivers approach the first turn at quite high speed, and then there are a number of technical turns that they have to go through. So it's a format and a layout that we've used before. It's just a matter of fitting it into the footprint of the stadium.
And over the 2 days, audiences can experience drifting, international rally special stage, motocross, FMX and much more. Dee Karen, The South Today.
Surveillance vessel HMNZS Wellington has been docked at Otago Harbour for the past few days en route to Antarctica. It was a flying visit for the ship, which is already headed for colder shores. The ship will be back in December to mark the Navy's 75th birthday.
A blustery day with freezing winds hitting the water, but one ship is headed even further down south, if the weather will allow it. The crew of the HMNZS Wellington head off today for 3 weeks to Antarctica to investigate illegal fishing. The visiting vessel arrived in Dunedin on November the 23rd and is also helping out with Canterbury earthquake surveillance.
Our job there is to clear the way for the main force, which is Canterbury, to help with the evacuation, and also for clear the anchorages for the main task group, which is comprised of the international ships.
Surveillance found the seabed had risen 0.5 metre on the southern end of the peninsula and 1.5 metres on the northern end following the earthquake.
Local shipping down there, like Whale Watch, they were only able to float their vessels for maybe 2 hours a day.
The ship's departure has already been delayed by unfriendly conditions, but all going to plan, it will reach the Ross Sea in Antarctica soon. Lieutenant Craig Carew says it's rare the crew gets a day off. His child and pregnant wife are eagerly awaiting his return home for Christmas.
The day I get back from deployment, the day I find out whether we're having a boy or a girl. Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. Our first one, I was in Bahrain.
Also aboard is midshipman Carew, a 19-year-old straight out of school who will be making her first trip to Antarctica.
Coming out of school and then going straight into learning about how to drive a ship. It's like getting a fire hose put down your throat and like turn on high and then like all the information going down basically.
While learning to take control of a ship has been pretty exciting, for Carew nothing will beat seeing the ice for the first time. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
Coming up on Southern Newsweek, a record number of eggs for the albatross colony, but will they all survive? And we take a look at the little black cookbook set to hit shelves. Welcome back. Increasing the population of royal albatross at their home on the Otago Peninsula is a slow process. A potential record number of fertile eggs are being monitored at the colony. But even if they all hatch, fledge and survive, it could be a decade before a breeding pair will be matched.
These eggs are not only being counted before they hatch, but they're being checked for fertility. Out at the albatross colony on Tairoa Head, 37 eggs have been laid in 35 nests. 27 of those chicks so far are fertile, even one by a female-female pairing.
But with that particular female-female pair, for the last 3 breeding seasons, one of their 2 eggs that the females have laid have been fertilised, so they've managed to raise chicks of their own.
If all of the 27 chicks survive over the next 10 months, it will be on par with a record set in 2003.
We tend to end up around that sort of mid-20s in the number of chicks that we fledge each season from that sort of mid-30s numbers of eggs that are laid. So that's a really high breeding success for any species.
And part of that is due to the management that goes on at the colony, from the egg-laying stage right through until the chicks fledge. But it will still take time to see a difference.
If we do sort of strike that sort of mid-20s number of the chicks that are fledging in September 2017, what that'll mean for the population will be basically an increase of maybe 1 or 2 pairs in about 10 years after that.
The chicks are likely to start hatching in mid-January, with the feeding and take-off attempts all live stream on the Royal Cam. Dee Karen, The South Today.
It was a case of Scotland the Brave for visitors trying famous Scottish fare at St Andrew's Day recently. Attendees with the stomach for it had the chance to sample cooked haggis made to a local recipe. But there was a lot more on offer than just the Scottish delicacy for those in a patriotic mood.
For your honest son, say face, great chieftain!
An ode to haggis struck a resonant chord with the St Andrews crowd. This was what everyone was waiting for. The arrival of the cooked sheep stomach, the national dish of Scotland, was the highlight of the festival and certainly made an entrance. The crowd was urged to partake, and the brave ones took the plunge, with the haggis getting the thumbs up from most.
Delicious. Is this one good?
You like it? Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it?
There was plenty to enjoy for those with more pedestrian tastes, including Highland dancing, choir items and an appearance by local troubadour Josh Larkins.
This one are from dancing.
Oh, you must be really good. How long have you been dancing for?
I think around 5 to 6 years.
The fashion conscious also took the chance to strut their stuff in clan colours.
What tartan has your doggy got on there?
I'm afraid that's unknown, unidentified.
So that one's the McGregor tartan. So it's the dress tartan.
So that's your clan, is it?
Yep, absolutely.
Steampunk outfit.
Steampunk tartan. So you're a steampunk Scot. Is that what it is?
Yeah, sort of.
But in the end, it all came back to the glue that holds the Scots together, the food.
Trying my luck with the traditional pikelet, but leaving the haggis allergies to Rabbie Burns. I'm Roselle LeBone for the South Today.
A self-published little black book showcasing Dunedin is about to hit the shelves. The Dunedin Phone Book is a collaboration between an art gallery owner and a well-known foodie, and it aims to share recipes and images of the city through the lens of an iPhone.
Looking over a freshly published first batch of books is Artist Room Gallery Director Michelle Chalkin-Sinclair and travelling chef Judith Cullen. Together, they've self-published the Dunedin Phone Book, a nod to the fact all of the images were taken on an iPhone.
Over probably the last year and a half, I have been posting a lot of Dunedin shots on social media sites and selling them via the gallery. And so, yeah, we just got together and thought this would make a nice collaboration for the book.
There were challenges in self-publishing, but they were overcome by finding the right people and the right materials. The project took the woman 6 months to complete, and they say it will appeal to anyone with a connection to Dunedin.
So whether you went to university here, whether you played sport here, whether you came here for a weekend or a holiday or have relations here, I mean, we've literally been contacted from 4 corners of the world for people who've had some small connection with Dunedin or spent time here or like the photographs.
As well as city images, there's also reproductions of well-known artists' work, and of course, the 8 delicious recipes.
Really, because I go to the market every Saturday, I've chosen things that I can buy at the market all the time, except one recipe, which is for olives and grapes baked together, because I think everyone needs to have that recipe.
In between cooking classes, Cullen travels to France, Turkey and Italy, and it was in Venice where she came across a similar book that sparked the inspiration for the Dunedin Phone Book.
We think this book could sit in any city, in any town, and it helps promote your own city, and that's what it's about. We live in a really, really delightful small town. And I think that we have so much character here, and we're delighted to be able to show it off in our book.
The first run of 4,000 copies launches in the second week of December, just in time to share with family and friends. Dee Karen, The South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, Kias in the Lower South Island are about to be stalked, and high school students help to change the fortunes of little blue penguins. Welcome back. The Queenstown-based Kia Conservation Trust is conducting field research of Kias for the first time in the lower part of the South Island. The project is due to take place at the Mount Aspiring National Park and the Matukituku Valley early next year. The Trust says it hopes to get a better understanding of what is threatening the Kia population.
They are New Zealand's fascinating alpine parrots, the Kia. They're a curious bird, but their nosiness makes them vulnerable to human and animal predation. The Kias nest on the ground, which means they're more susceptible to outside environments and threats. For example, we've got a real lovely sequence shots here of 2015 images captured in the Hoden Valley in Arthur's Pass, where you can see a sequence of the possums trying to enter the Kia nests and the Kia stopping it. There's the Kia there. The Trust has undertaken a number of field research projects done in the past in the Kahurangi National Park, Nelson Lakes and Arthur's Pass. These projects helped gather information and build an understanding of what really is threatening Kia.
Then that means we can put in place management projects as well then to support that Kia population.
So these are the motion sensor cameras that we use. And these are put outside facing the entrance to the Kia nest, and we also have them inside the Kia nest so that we can actually see what's happening inside. So they're just literally just strapped to a tree like that, and we position them anytime any animal moves past that, whether it's a kia or whether it's a predator, it actually triggers that off.
The Mount Aspiring project will be supported by the Auckland Zoo Conservation Fund, but the Kia Conservation Trust is always keen to get other sponsors and volunteers on board. Mina Amso for the South Today.
A lucky group of school-aged dancers from Dunedin missed out on homework and had a late one recently when they performed at the Regent Theatre in Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. The perennial Christmas favourite appeared at the Regent for one night only.
You hear that music and you just know it's about that time of year again.
I'm Roselle Lavone for the South Today, and I'm here with some very excited mice behind me who are making their professional debut tonight at the Regent Theatre in the Russian Imperial Ballet's Nutcracker.
The Imperial Ballet, an offshoot of the famous Bolshoi, is back following a sellout 2015 season of Swan Lake. The touring company is joined by children from local ballet schools in cities around the world, like these ones who say they've been hard at work leading up to tonight's performance.
So what can we look forward to seeing tonight?
Me!
You!
The Nutcracker tells the story of a little girl named Marie who lives in a loveless household until her Christmas magically comes alive. Dunedin turned out in droves to experience the seasonal favourite of all generations, and some were seeing it for the first time.
Is it your first time at the Nutcracker?
Yes.
Have you seen any ballets before?
No.
While out the front the queue was growing, backstage it was all action. Children were prancing and prima ballerinas were primping.
My name is Lina and I'm performing today as Clara and Tchaikovsky Nutcracker. As a ballerina, it's very important to look after your body. The most important for me as a ballerina, it's punches.
Severlova's career has seen her travel the world, and soon one of these aspiring ballerinas might just be standing in Severlova's pointe shoes. Roselle Lebone, The South Today.
And finally, Otago Peninsula is famous for its yellow-eyed penguins, but out there too is a growing population of little blue penguins. A group of Dunedin High School students have been helping ensure the changing fortunes of the little penguins are closely monitored. Here's Mark Price with the story.
Handling a little blue penguin to avoid damage to both penguin and handler requires a little bit of technique. Even so, there can still be a few surprises. These Dunedin High School students are at Pilot's Beach, helping insert small transponders under the skin of the chubby penguin chicks.
We want to identify every individual that lives here, which is the only way of counting how many live here. We don't know. We can have up to 150, 200 penguins return at night when the tour groups come to watch them returning from the sea after dark, but we don't know how many breed, how old they get, how many chicks they produce, and their survival rate, those sort of things. You can only find out these things when you mark them and then follow them over the years. So the Blue Penguin Pukekua Trust has employed me to mark everybody with transponders.
The chicks are about 5 to 6 weeks old and weigh between 1.2 and 1.3 kilograms. Over the next few weeks, the transponders will be checked to ensure they're working before the chicks leave the nest and begin the next part of their breeding cycle.
So the little penguins are the most productive seabird on the planet. They can produce up to 4 chicks in one season. So they lay 2 eggs, raise the chicks, they leave and they lay 2 more eggs and raise 2 more chicks. So they are very, very busy little birds.
Dr. Rat says involving the students is designed to teach them the value of wildlife and offer them the chance to support conservation. I'm Mark Price for the South Today.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. You can see more of Southern News by following us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or via our website channel39.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.